Linda Henry has been calling the shots at the Boston Globe for a while, but now it's official. She was just named CEO of Boston Globe Media, including the paper, Boston.com, and Stat News. The change cements her status as the most powerful person in Boston media and comes at a fraught moment for the organization she leads. Adam has more.
When Jon Henry bought the Globe in 2013, he was seen as a savior for a paper the former owner, the New York Times Company, nearly shut down.
Red Sox owner Jon Henry pays $70 million for another local icon, the Boston Globe.
But it's his wife, Linda Henry, who became the face of the Globe, upping its profile and articulating its mission.
To have a strong, vibrant city where more people can live, work, and thrive. And a key ingredient for that is a really strong, effective newspaper.
Now she's taking over, going from managing director to chief executive officer. Henry declined our request for an interview, but a press release says she'll be taking responsibility for more day-to-day operations across all business units. And that could mean more engagement with an increasingly frustrated workforce.
We're really concerned that the company's pushing so aggressively.
Investigative reporter and Boston Newspaper Guild spokesperson Matt Rochelow says Globe journalists have been working without a contract for 2 years and that management wants to be able to outsource jobs and fire at will. He thinks that's one reason so many Globe journalists have been leaving the paper.
We've had more than 24 journalists leave in the past 2 years, and certainly some of those related directly to how they feel they're being treated by management. If we lose quality journalists, the quality of the newspaper is going to go down.
The same day Henry was promoted, the Guild fired a shot across the bow, noting that management is represented by Jones Day, the law firm President Trump is using to try to overturn the election. While Rochelow says he hopes Henry can help resolve the conflict, he's not optimistic.
This is a great chance for her and the rest of the management team to do what's right in these negotiations. But so far, we haven't seen any signal of that.
Which suggests Henry is about to face her biggest test yet.
Well, Adam, certainly Linda Pizzuti Henry has shown her business acumen over the years. She has totally immersed herself in that newspaper. She didn't know anything about the newspaper business when she started, by her own admission. It's got to be a little bit awkward for the employees, but I imagine if anybody can get the deal done with the union, it's going to be her. And frankly, I have never heard a bad word about her, that she was a quick study, that she didn't overly involve herself, especially in the editorial meetings, and she was a good listener. So, as I said, I'm sure it's going to be awkward for some of the people there, but, eliminate the middleman, right?
Well, I think that the bad word that you might hear if you talk to people in the Guild is that in her previous role as managing director, the de facto head of the paper, managing partner, rather, I should say, that there was no indication that she was interested in working with them to satisfy what they see as an eminently reasonable list of requests for their working conditions and the protections they should have. And it's worth noting, a lot of the people who leave the Globe go to either the New York Times or the Washington Post. It's going to be tough to keep people when they have a chance to go to the pinnacle of American journalism regardless, but the best way to do it is to make people feel like, okay, I might be giving up, the high profile I could get by making that jump, but I'm at a place where management clearly values me and wants to structure my job in a way that is good for my existence as a journalist. And I'm not sure that that's the case there now, and they've been getting increasingly vocal about their frustrations.
Yeah, I agree with Adam. First of all, there is no substitute for committed local ownership, and Linda and Jon Henry have shown that that's who they are over the last 7 years. As recently as a few months ago, there were rumors coming up once again that the Henrys were going to sell the Globe. This ought to put that to a stop. They've been a success. It's growing. Stat News has developed a national reputation for coverage of COVID. It is time to settle this mess with the union. The union employees have made a lot of sacrifices and have been a huge part of the success story that the Globe has been able to tell. It's time to recognize that and put this behind them.
And just to jump off of what Dan and Jon said, oftentimes when you look at what makes a place a great place to work, even beyond, settling any kind of union disputes, is some kind of stability, right? Understanding that the ownership is going to be around for a while. You can pretty much bank on what the future of that particular news organization will be. I remember when I first took a job years ago at King TV out in Seattle, they were going through a transition period. It was going from a family-owned station group to a broader network type affiliation. And I know we were very concerned, like, what does the future hold? Are they going to be cutting back? Are there going to be new owners who have a completely different vision as to how that news organization should move forward and how news should be covered in that local region? And so I think, for the reporters and those who work at the Boston Globe, knowing that she has now this new role, it does sort of cement that issue of stability, right? And so you strip out all the other issues. That's one thing that I think could make it a better place to work.
Yeah, I mean, whatever else you might want to say about either Henry, thank God for them. They saved that paper from extinction, and they invested in it, and they've done a really good job keeping it relevant in the marketplace during a brutal time for newspapers everywhere. I guess in the long run, the question for Linda Henry is, does she have the magic bullet? Can she come up with the magic answer for turning around the slide that has completely destroyed the Herald? What are they? I saw the other day they're down to less than 20,000 papers sold on a daily basis. That's unbelievable. There are college radio stations who have bigger audiences than that. Can she come up with a way to save it? And, a lot of people are trying to figure that out. One thing I've wondered is they still own Nesson, the New England Sports Network, right? The Globe does, Emily? Help me here.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they do, and I've always wondered why that is just left to kind of rust in the backyard.
I agree.
And why they don't do more with that, particularly with all the emphasis on video as an element of the online appeal of newspapers.
That's a good point. There was talk about that a few years ago. Go ahead, Adam.
I was just going to say, Dan will need to double check me here because he's the expert on this. He wrote the book on it. But my understanding is that the Globe has actually done a great job under the Henry's stewardship of building their paid digital subscription base. Am I correct, Dan?
They went over 200,000 earlier this year, which they had long pointed to as the tipping point for becoming financially viable.
Yeah.
So that's a sign that they've got the right idea, right, when it comes to mixing, the business model and the editorial content they're providing, which I think is not the case at the Herald. But this isn't a sort of a this isn't a editorial content and business issue. This is a human issue and a management issue, and obviously there's different skills involved in coming up with solutions.
Well, they've had a bunch of interim people in there, so give her a chance. That's all I can say.